It's time now for perspective, and we're staying with our top story today. That is the Israeli army's operation this Wednesday inside Gaza's largest hospital, the Al-Shifa hospital, where over 2,000 people, ill people, wounded civilians, currently find themselves trapped. My guest today is Lex Takkenberg, Senior Advisor on the Question of Palestine at the Arab Renaissance for Democracy and Development, which is a civil society organisation that seeks to help address the challenges faced by the Arab world. He was also formerly the Chief Ethics Officer at UNRWA, which is the UN's Palestinian Refugee Agency. He joins us today from Amman, Jordan. Thank you so much for speaking to us here on France 24 today. Now, in the course of war, hospitals are protected under international law, but where does that leave Israel, legally speaking, if Hamas is, as Israel says, also the US says, using medical facilities as their military command centres?
Good morning, and happy to join you. Indeed, hospitals should never be attacked under any situation of armed conflict. They should be sort of the last safe haven available to a civilian population. This is the sixth war in the last 15 years. And in all the previous war and in the current situation, Israel has not been able to produce any credible evidence that medical facilities in the Gaza Strip are inappropriately used. Shifa Hospital, like any other hospitals, are public institutions, are open to the public, are open to journalists, are open to anybody can scrutinize what is going on there. There has so far never been any credible allegation that hospitals have been inappropriately used in Gaza, and therefore this is a totally inappropriate use of force. An escalation of use of force by the Israeli military. What it seems like is that the ongoing military operation in the Gaza Strip is beyond revenge and trying to take on Hamas, an attempt to cause such panic and to put such pressure on the Gaza population, primarily in the north, but also in the south, to be forcibly displaced. We have seen massive displacement from the north to the south, instructed by the Israeli army repeatedly and repeatedly. And these bombings and attacks on hospitals, on other public infrastructure, on UN and other schools that serve as temporary hostels, emergency hostels, is just an attempt to sow panic and put pressure on the population to move. By now, 1.5 million Palestinians have been displaced, 2/3 of the Gaza population.
And of course, Israel would say that it's continuing with its intense bombing campaign with these operations, including the latest operation in Al-Shifa hospital, because Hamas militants are still holding some 240 Israeli and international citizens in Gaza.
Well, if the primary goal would be to release hostages, we would expect a different military and political strategy, one that is aimed at indeed serious negotiations, opportunities to provide an opportunity for hostages to be kept safe and then ultimately to be released. I mean, these bombardments will undoubtedly also harm the hostages, and there have already been reports that a number of hostages, several dozens, apparently have been killed as a result of the ongoing bombardment. So it seems much more to prevent, indeed, as I mentioned earlier, this strategy of forced displacement and preventing refugees who have internally displaced in Gaza to ever come back to their homes and properties in the north or in other parts of Gaza. And with the pressure in the south mounting, with starvation being used as an instrument of war, it's only a matter of time for the desperate Palestinians in the south of the Strip to sort of break through the border with Rafah and for us to witness another mass displacement of Palestinians, as we have seen in 1948, as we have seen in 1967, and as we are witnessing today.
And I do want to talk more about this question of forced displacement and refugees, but could you first please explain to us how the UN, you did previously work at the United Nations Palestinian Refugee Agency, how the UN
Correct.
defines a refugee?
The UNRWA, the UN Refugee Agency, the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency, inherited sort of the refugees from its predecessors in 1950 when it started operations. It defines refugees as those who lost their homes and livelihoods as a result of the 1948 conflict, and in line with international refugee law and similar to what UNHCR is practicing in other refugee situations, also their descendants, because their status also remains unresolved. So that's the definition of Palestinian refugees employed by UNRWA for the purpose of international law as well.
And you have touched on this already, but I would like to ask you what you think the best case scenario is for the some 1.4 million Palestinians who have, in the past 5.5 weeks, been forced from their homes.
Yeah, it's already 1.5 according to UN OCHA, the Office of Humanitarian Affairs, and it's continuing to grow by the day. The best case scenario is an immediate cessation of all hostilities, with an opening of the border for humanitarian supplies to come in sufficiently and to all areas of the Strip. At the moment, UNRWA and other humanitarian agencies are only allowed to distribute food and to make supplies available to Palestinians in the southern part of Gaza, not to the north. And so complete cessation of hostilities, unlimited entry of humanitarian supplies, and the permission of Palestinians to go back to their homes to the extent that homes still exist. Refugees should be allowed immediately to return to these homes. That's the only place. Winter is setting in. We had heavy rainfall. The temperatures are dropping quite dramatically. For those refugees whose shelters and apartments are still available, they should be allowed to go back immediately.
And once this current war between Israel and Hamas is over, what do you think concretely needs to be done to work towards peace, if indeed you believe that peace in the short to medium term is even a viable possibility?
Well, at the moment we're sort of really focused on getting the parties, go back from the brink and avoid even a larger catastrophe, as I alluded to. Indeed, the events of 7 October and their aftermath are the biggest turning point in the question of Palestine since 1948, and has profound implications for all concerned. For Israel, the question will come up, Israel has sort of failed in 75 years to provide a safe haven to Jews. And it will have to ask itself very fundamental questions as to the future and its relationship with Palestinians. For Palestinians, this represents another huge catastrophe, but at the same time, a moment of renewed attention for the unresolved Palestinian question, for the international community, which, where sort of the question of Palestine had fallen off the radar, and the same for Arab states that were sort of engaging in normalization with Israel. This is also a major sort of turning point.
Lex Takkenberg,
ultimately,
I do apologise. I'm going to have to cut you up there. I do apologise. We have run out of time.
No
Lex
problem.
Takkenberg, Senior Advisor on the question of Palestine at the Arab Renaissance for Democracy and Development in Amman. Thank you.